Now we're going to take a look at how to utilize Photoshop's high dynamic range capabilities by using the merge to HDR command to put together several images of different exposure to create one single image. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to close this image up here. I'm going to select Don't Save. And I'm going to navigate back to the Adobe Bridge by clicking on this icon here. And what we have inside of the bridge is this merge to HDR folder, which is located in your Chapter 9 project files folder. And so what we're going to do is we're going to select these photographs here. All of these photographs are all of the exact same scene. They're just taken with different exposure levels. And that's what HDR is. HDR is maximizing the high dynamic range of a scene, meaning that you capture both the highlights and the shadows while still maintaining all of the detail in the midtones. So this is going to be a really big challenge, especially with digital photography these days, because the dynamic range of cameras is very, very limited. So as we evolve with digital photography, Photoshop has evolved and has created this nice package where we can create these dynamic range photographs simply by adjusting our exposure in camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these photographs here, and I'm going to select them all by just shift clicking all the way down. And what we're going to do is we're going to merge these together using the HDR command by coming up here to the Tools menu. We're going to choose Photoshop, and we're going to select Merge to HDR. Now when this happens, it's going to launch Photoshop and it's going to bring all of those photographs in. Once you're inside of the HDR dialog box, you have the ability to then take these photographs and you can either turn them on or off depending on your personal preference here in the side, whichever one you think is going to give you the best result as far as merging to HDR to give you a better overall image and so forth. Now you can also set the white point preview here, and you can select this to turn it up or down. I'm going to actually turn it down a little bit simply because of the fact that we're losing a lot of detail in these trees back here. So what I'm going to do is just kind of drag this slider to the right to make sure that we're not losing all of that detail back there in the plant. But I'm also not going to darken it to a point where we can't see all of the rest of this. Now if you had taken this photograph with a regular camera, you would probably have gotten a result much like one of these single images here. Either you would only have gotten the information that's located in the windows, or you would only have gotten the information and images located in the foreground, meaning that only the couch would be visible and then the windows would be completely blown out as lost highlights, or you would have all of the furniture and everything in the room would be burnt out as far as shadows go, and then the objects in the window would actually be perfectly exposed. So that's what we're talking about as far as the drawbacks of conventional cameras, is the fact that we have trouble maintaining highlights and shadows as we take these digital photographs. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead now and click OK, and when I do that, Photoshop is going to create a new file based on this high dynamic range photograph that we've just created, and it's going to launch it then into Photoshop. And here we have our completed HDR photo that was created from those 4 different merged HDR photographs that we started out with. So if I go ahead and open up the other photographs here, I'm going to go to File, I'm going to select Scripts, and I'll choose to load files into stack just so we can view all of those at once. And I'm going to go back up a level here. I'll select Merge to HDR, and I'll just select all of these photographs. Click OK. It's going to load all those up. Click OK. Photoshop will load those files into a stack for me. And so here's what I'm talking about. Here's where we had only the different portions of the window in view. Here's where we're losing lots of highlights in the background there, but we're maintaining a lot of the midtones and shadows. Here we've gotten too dark in the shadows, but we're getting better light in the background. So you can see just how limited the regular photographic techniques are. But when we utilize Photoshop's HDR, I'm going to go ahead and close this up so you can see this. I'll go ahead and say, no, don't save that. There we have maintained most of the detail in the window and all of the detail throughout the entire room. So you can see just how unbelievably powerful this HDR command is, as long as you take the correct exposures with your camera and then merge them together utilizing Photoshop's HDR. So now we should have a better understanding of exactly how to take multiple images and load them into a stack here inside of Photoshop, and then also how to align those images into a nice panorama style using Photoshop's new Photo Merge feature, and then also how to utilize Photoshop's amazing Merge to HDR capabilities to increase the high dynamic range of our digital photographs.